Everybody's calling this moment a big crisis, but I think that is a big opportunity. This is exactly where the big ideas come out. If you look at big companies, they all have been founded in moments like this. So
Mm.
go and try, invent, create. You have an idea, go make it real. And try to network yourself with people that are doing the same. Your friends that are employees are not going to be able to help you at all. So go find the right community and build.
Great. Welcome, Alex. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited to talk about what you're doing at Sentient Info. All right. For our listeners, Alex is the CEO of Sentient Info, an AI solutions firm that helps big companies use things like computer vision and predictive maintenance. Alex, you have a huge background having led multi-million dollars at Shell and KBR. Can you give us a quick and simple introduction to Sentient Info and the problem you solve for big companies today?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. Sentient Info basically develops software and focus on AI. We also do a little bit of technology with IoT, systems, and robotics. But primarily our focus is artificial intelligence. And most of our customers, what they require is to overcome barriers that they have in their operation currently to achieve better results. And they've tried several technologies and several things without success and are willing to give artificial intelligence a chance. By artificial intelligence, I don't just mean generative AI, but also machine learning, computer vision, and other technologies that integrate the artificial intelligence portfolio, which unfortunately don't get as mentioned as often, but that's where our focus is in really elevating the technology game for the customer so that they can have a better solution that drives better results.
Well, that's a great way to put it. That's really great. Let's dive into your story. You have a huge background closing deals with national oil companies. What made you decide to leave that world and start Sentient Info?
That's a great question. Okay, so I worked with many years for oil and gas companies, primarily BP and Shell. And within Shell, I was mostly in commercial roles like marketing. But about halfway through my career, I realized that I wanted something different, more challenging, and I had exhausted almost all sales and marketing jobs at that point. And the only way for me to continue to grow was either take more responsibility and take more people and do less, just manage people, or actually go to some other area of the business and relearn, reinvent myself. And so I went and found an opportunity within the team that was doing work at refineries within Shell and was servicing some customers, offering the extra capability that Shell had. And I started doing that. My first customer was in Canada, and then I started working with every single customer that I was assigned, trying to identify opportunities where I could leverage Shell's engineering team to resolve problems, mostly mechanical problems or process engineering problems, or problems dealing with control systems in big equipment. It was upstream and downstream operations. And from there, I immediately recognized the power of control systems, the power of software, the power of simulation and simulating all these processes in a computer and trying to drive results. I got eventually promoted within that role, and then I eventually left Shell and joined KBR to lead their whole technical services division, or create it even. And that included my desire to create a digital services solution within the team, which was kind of a first attempt to drive artificial intelligence into process engineering. And we started by automating machines from remote process monitoring, being able to read all these sensors and map them, graph them, to start to do predictive analytics on them, all the way to how can we automate parts of the machine so that they're fully cycled within the information that is received, AI that is processing that information and taking decisions and back into operations. And we did a lot of work in that area, and I loved it. But at that point in time, I was not the one that was coding it or doing the actual work on the software. I was basically just leading a big team, and I had people primarily in India, but also in the US, developing all these wonders. And I was always like, I don't like this black box feeling. And I was also limited in what type of applications I could do or customers I could approach, because the customer was very focused on just servicing their technologies and their customers. COVID came and I ended up being part of a restructure where I lost my job, and I saw that as an opportunity to, hey, I know that I have other customers that are asking me for some of the services and ideas of services that we have, particularly maintenance, preventive and predictive maintenance. So could I actually assemble like a small team, or put together some solutions, or even code the stuff myself? So I went back to school, started a master's in data science. That was the first thing that I studied. And then from there, I've been studying nonstop. Even today, I'm studying, right? And then basically started assembling the company. Originated with a very simple setup. It was just myself and trying to come up with a product definition so that I could get more people on board. But that evolved, and over time, it has continued to evolve and continues to evolve even to today. I've been very fluid as to where life is taking you and what the demand in the market is manifesting itself in front of you, so that you can actually tackle and offer something that is demanded, but also that is valuable to the customers, right?
Yes, absolutely. That's great. You mentioned growing the company from like zero to $2 million by using a consultative selling process. What is the single most important thing you learned about selling those AI solutions to companies?
Okay. Selling AI is very difficult. My biggest challenge with AI is that most people just understand one thing about AI, primarily what is driven by the LLMs or ChatGPT and Gemini, Grok and DeepSeek and whatnot. And they believe that that is artificial intelligence. And by means of their understanding of what they see, that they can chat with it, they extrapolate to what they imagine the solutions are. But in reality, solutions are way more difficult, way more complex. Um, so as well, the role in selling artificial intelligence in a big part is about training, is about teaching what can be done, how it's done, and how it works. Many people, for example, don't imagine the typical challenges, particularly, for example, in generative AI, where you have a lot of hallucination and other issues. And to be able to get consistent performance out of an LLM so that the output is exactly as the software needs it and it's reliable, the quality of the output is high, etc. Well, you go beyond just using one. You usually use two, three, even more, and then you make them adversarially so that they can actually refine the answers, protect the prompts, because that's also one thing that started happening. People started creating prompts to have the AIs do other things like hack, and it's an evolution, right? The same thing happened when the internet was evolving and we had websites, and in the URL you could do SQL injection. Well, same thing is happening now with prompt injection. So all of these things needs to be considered, and the typical business person, business owner or leader, C-suite type of profile, they're not aware. So my first role when selling is making them aware of all these things. And then
Hmm.
from there is like, well, how do we apply this in a way that actually builds for the business? I've been faced also with many instances where they call me, it's like, Alice, we want this solution. And they tell me what the solution is. But then when I see the problem, it's like, my God, you're going from Excel spreadsheet management or Blackboard management into a full blown AI solution with nothing in between. It's not going to work. You need some, you know, core components so that your information system actually works and flows. You need quality data, and sometimes we have to take the customer back and say, look, from where you're at, this is the next ideal step for you, and that's what's going to drive you the most value. And it's not AI, and sometimes it's like I'm driving myself out of the project, but I will advise on what the right thing to do is for my customers. And oftentimes is this misinterpretation that AI has gained over the last few years because of media and movies and all that.
Yes, absolutely. Do you have like any particular stories about like how this would have happened?
You mean when what would have happened?
Knowing that a client required a solution and they wanted to implement AI very heavily, but their system was broken that it just didn't need AI, it just needed a better system.
I have many, like many. I have this one customer. He's a manufacturer of PVC products in Mexico, and they call us. They basically gave us all these computer vision requirements that they had for a big project. And they gave us a brief of all the things that the computer vision would do to inspect quality on the conveyor belt and whatnot. And we're very excited that was going to be our first conveyor belt application. And I was already doing the math models on how this was going to be assembled. And then I asked the team member, hey, go to the factory and check things out and look at the process, look at the metrics, and document what the success criteria will be. Well, in doing the documentation of the success criteria, we got into the warehouse. The warehouse was a mess. It was in complete disarray. They had dual production lines, but most of the warehouse was, or the space for the facility was used for warehouse. And they could not even move the pallets correctly to feed into the conveyors. The whole process was bad. And not just that, but in that conversation, we realized that their main problem was that they were losing a lot of product and they were having even theft problems in the facility. And when observing more things, we noticed that even the door, the metal door that gives access to the facility was broken. So we went back to the owner and told her, look, before you put computer vision here, you're gonna do way more money by fixing the theft, and you're going to fix the theft by fixing the door. So let's start with that, and then after that, then you need to reorg your production lines this other way. I'm an industrial engineer, so this was very evident, but we brought in an expert, but it would tell this owner how she should actually be reorganizing the layout of the facility to produce much more without any systems or any AI, etc. It was unfortunate because we ended up not selling anything there, but the owner
Yeah.
was getting top-notch insight as to how to manage their facility. And we have stories like this all the time where like a lot of people call us for a rocket to the moon, and basically they need something more simple, but that actually is more effective for their problem.
Yes, and you know that they'll once they get those systems in place and they get running, they will definitely just come back to you with
Yeah.
a few more solutions.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because they value honesty. They value that we're really consulting them correctly, giving them the advice that they need to make the additional profit that they want to make. So we're not really a player that is trying to position itself, just get money and do one transaction and forget it. When we manage to land a customer, that customer becomes extremely loyal because they do see our effort to give value and to our values, honesty, etc.
Yes, and I think that's like very important, especially in a business. If you want to
Right.
take your client from point A to point B, you can't fluff around. Let's talk about the topics you prioritize, data and safety. You recently wrote that the CRM is an organizational memory system. What is the biggest risk a company faces when their sales information is only in people's heads? And how does AI embedded in that CRM fix that problem?
Yeah, I mean that's a great reflection. As you know, we offer many platforms. One of the platforms we offer to the market is a CRM system, and I don't like the name CRM because I believe it's so much more. It's not just about how to manage a relationship, but it's really about how to manage the whole business. Modern CRMs like ours are now integrating everyone in the organization. And it's not just a vehicle to record what's happening, but it's actually a knowledge management vehicle that enables a company that uses it correctly to actually build solutions and record the expertise, retain that expertise so that future generations can tap into it faster. Say, for example, that I'm a really capable sales rep, and for whatever reason, I can no longer continue with a company. Maybe I got an offer with another company, I retire, something, and I have tremendous relationships and tremendous knowledge with my customers. When I leave, in most cases, that knowledge is gone, is forgotten. But if we have a solid system like ours, we will be able to retain that knowledge from small details like, hey, this customer has a daughter. That daughter goes to Taekwondo lessons, and she likes news about that, and he always brags about her. But that's tremendous insight. So if you want to build rapport, you can immediately get to a strong level of relationship, and you can do it authentically because you also have all the business insights. Where does this customer come from? How have they evolved with the company? How are we satisfying their needs or not satisfying? Where are we coming short? And all these things can be evolved by the next person seamlessly. I think that that's so important in today's day and age where things change so fast, and people are moving from one place to the other. You want to retain the knowledge and the capability of the organization, and CRMs are a vehicle that is critical for a company to do that. So it's much more than just managing your pipeline or looking at some statistics. Is really how do you retain the knowledge and the commercial insights of the company so that you can continue to do business and do it better.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fascinating about the AI suggesting the next steps and also bringing in those kinds of little bit of points. Everyone loves their family. Can you elaborate on the financial model behind that? What is the tangible cost of losing a key salesperson or a manager? And how quickly does the CRM save that money?
You said it well. I mean, for one, you have the lifetime of the customer, which you can quantify. There's many methods. I mean, the principles in all methods are pretty much the same, which is a projection of what would be the sales of these customers and then the profits of them if I keep them and grow them, right? And if I do right the business. And if you put that in net present value and you lose that customer, that's a big chunk of money that will be hurtful to the organization. Likewise, when you lose the capability to develop that in full and you maybe put another resource, but that resource has a learning curve, you're going to lose some customers. You're going to churn a few customers that are not going to be happy with being the teachers of whoever's new. And they're maybe not going to be as patient through the process. Some other customers will be, but sales will be hurt in the short term. Over a longer period of time, they will be normalized. But in all cases, there's going to be ups and downs, and those can be quantified, and those are big costs of the organization. But then the other thing that's going to be costly within the organization that is often overlooked is the internal costs, like morale. How are the team members going to feel when they look at the value being lost every day, every month? If you're the new guy in the organization that is replacing the guy that retired and that guy was extremely good, then how are you going to deal with your emotions within the company if you're not actually delivering as high? And maybe it's not your fault. You don't have the tools, you don't have the information, the insights. Whereas in another context, you could have it and then start to perform immediately, at least not be penalized for not having that information or that level of insight that you should be having. And then there's, of course, the relationship cost within the other functions of the company. When somebody is long time with a company, you learn to work with other functions. You learn to work with marketing. You learn to work with finance. You learn the tricks that will get your credit approval faster by the credit team and so forth. And you learn to do your due diligence better so that, it's approved faster. And when you're new, you don't have those insights. And conducting due diligence, for example, is such a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Most CRMs don't have anything provision for due diligence. Ours is very focused on due diligence because we recognize that the dynamics of the world are changing. And now you can have, a sales resource 3 months, but then that resource will be gone. You'll need to have somebody new, and that whoever's new will have to perform as well, if not better, than who was before, and conduct all the steps that your organization required to make deals, to manage risk, to mitigate that risk, and ultimately do business and close fast. So
Mm-hmm.
all these things are big costs and considerations for solutions. In this case, the CRM. Now, AI is a big component of this because it's not just about the data and keeping records of the data, but it's about turning that data into insights, into actions, and then those actions into directions that strategic directions that can move the needle to get more business. I think that AI can be an enabler of that through the interaction, through the learning, and through the adaptation of the individual to the tool. AI can bring a nice buffer that actually tailors the experience of the tool to the user that best suits
Mm-hmm.
the personality and the way to conduct business of the individual. So it's also kind of a blend of how can I also take what's best about this new individual that I don't know, but maybe the AI can actually adapt and mine that gold that's in there.
That sounds really amazing. I'd love to see that in action sometime. You also talked about data fabric, systems needing to talk to each other. Sentient Info offers chatbots, computer vision, and predictive maintenance, like you said. What is the biggest operational challenge or opportunity you are focused on right now?
Well, I think that in terms of the platforms and the software, definitely getting consistent results, right? We have mastered as a team to connect to APIs, do integrations with customers, with platforms. I mean, that I think we have tremendous capability. And the algorithms that are very linear, mathematical, we're extremely good at them. Even with highly complex math, differential equations or whatnot, we can actually do simulation. But when we talk about the consistency of systems such as transformers or other computer vision systems, even where you get a certain probabilistic result, how to increase the consistency of those. So we get polarized results. We sometimes get huge, very highly accurate results that are really good. And then every now and then we have a spike where it's like, well, where did that come from? Like how did that happen? And managing that, mitigating it so to drive consistency, because consistency drives credibility and credibility drives business. And so that consistency is what we're focusing on. And that's where a lot of my attention is focused on in the business. In addition to, of course, the sales portion, which is big effort and big percentage of my time.
So, yeah, fair enough. And if your customers didn't implement a data fabric, what are the tangible financial and potentially reputational costs that they face in the current market?
That's a good question. So when we think about data fabric and fabric in general, it's about that layer of connectivity so that you can
Hmm.
actually drive connectivity in a standard way. And then that standard way feed it into your, let's call them agentic systems. And so if you don't have a seamless, fast, easy way to connect and make your agents immediately have access to multiple data sources to read information, get answers, but also to conduct transactions and do execution of actions, then they're useless, right? I mean, they're not going to have any valid functionality. And to drive that consistently is the basis for the value of the whole hypothesis of agentic systems. So I think that when I try to answer your question, I think the other way around is like if you get consistent performance from connectivity systems, like a fabric into agentic systems, that's what drives the value. If you don't manage to do that correctly, then the agent systems are crippled and the value is gone.
Yeah, yeah, that is very true. If you had a magic wand that could fix only one thing in your business that is slowing down your growth at Sentient Info right now, what would that one thing be and why?
That's a great question. It would be definitely on the commercial side, and it would be on how much time it takes to actually develop a customer so that the customer understands what we sell, how we can help the business, and then be willing to do work with us in a faster way. Right now, we do it, we're successful at doing it, but it takes time, it takes effort, and it takes a lot of cost. Can we drive that down significantly so that we can do more benefit for more customers out there? And
Hmm.
that's the biggest challenge. And if I had a magic one, that's where I would use it first.
Okay. Well, this has been fantastic. Your insights on CRMs and organizational memory are exactly what our audience needed to hear. But just so I can frame the conversation correctly for our listeners, what is the key metric, like revenue, client count, or something else that you're focused on doubling in the next 12 months?
We'll have many metrics. The main metric within the company is return on capital employed, and everything
Hmm.
we do is guided from return on capital employed, literally. Um, from that, we have metrics that deal with the investments that we do in platforms, and those are pure return on investment because platform requires a lot of upfront investment and then a lot of prayers so that the business plan executes as it was done in paper before you actually coded the platform and invested all that money so that you get all those customers and the revenue starts coming back and you start to get the ROI correctly. Now, in terms of projects, that's a little bit easier, softer, but it's less profitable. So in terms of projects, it's really about revenue and the amount of time that we can actually get to close a project. So right now, most of our projects take about 6 to 9 months to be closed, and that's too
Mm-hmm.
much. I was like, at that pace, we're not able to close enough projects as we would like. So those three would
Yeah.
be the main indicators. Overall company, return on capital employed. That's what drives our financial decisions. Then return on investment is the one that we look at the most when we talk about our platforms. And when we talk about project work, is how do we reduce the cycle time?
Yeah. Um, all right, Alex. I believe that will conclude our podcast. Thank you so much for all your insights. Do you have any like questions for us or comments for our audience? How can they
No, I
find you?
mean, all I can do is wish the audience a lot of success. Be an entrepreneur, try things, launch. There's a big opportunity. Everybody's calling this moment a big crisis, but I think that is a big opportunity. This is exactly where the big ideas come out. If you look at big companies, they all have been founded in moments like this. So go and try, invent, create, develop. You have an idea, go make it real. And try to network yourself with people that are doing the same. Your friends that are employees are not going to be able to help you at all. So go find the right community and build.
Love that. Thank you so much, Alex.
You bet.